from the New York Post. McCarthy demands Biden give us his bank statements as impeachment probe looms. Right. Okay, so we can get a little worked up, I guess, and be like, oh, look, he's going after Biden's bank statements. But I just want to point out.
Why is he only asking now for them?
Well, it's because he's dropping grains of sand every week where it's like, oh, if Joe Biden, if we find out that he's a little bit more corrupt than we already know he is, we might actually ask each other whether or not we should ask the government for the authority to ask for bank statements to maybe question an impeachment.
The old phrase is boob bait for the bubbas. That's what that is.
Yeah.
What is that?
McCarthy's not going to do
kind
anything.
Of, you know, you kind of, as Tim was pointing out, you give just a little bit to keep your base excited and motivated, but not do enough. And I largely agree with Democrat critiques of Republican concerns about corruption, that it's a lot of it is political. They kind of want to use it to get some votes now and again, keep the other side on their heels. But when it comes to like accountability, they're fearful of it and they don't want to do it. So here, this is the danger here is for McCarthy and Republicans is that they just keep stringing this along. Everyone's going to see this as political. Fish or cut bait, guys. We don't need another hearing. We don't need another report. We don't need another email release. Judicial Watch can write reports. We release emails. What does Congress do? They can defund. They can make criminal referrals. They can impeach. McCarthy had any guts. What he'd do right now is he'd say all these committees investigating, the House Oversight Committee, the Weaponization Committee, Judiciary Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, you're all part of the impeachment inquiry. Okay. And now we're all gearing towards impeachment. We're going to figure out who to impeach from, lower level officials, like Mayorkas, all the way up to the President of the United States. Just do it.
That sounds glorious.
You think that
they're not going to do any of that?
I know, but it still sounds glorious.
Well, they might if someone, I tell you, my understanding is House members are getting a lot of pushback on their failure to do what folks like Tom Fitton are suggesting. And so it's not like we're speaking into the wind here. There are many, many Republicans and conservatives in the base of the Republican Party, and more than a few honest Democrats want something done about Biden corruption. And they're tired of this, what we're seeing here. Give us engaging in performance fighting isn't going to satisfy. We've been through this before time and time again.
Is it donor driven? Is that why they don't want to go to the mat on this? That they would lose. There must be corporate interests that make them not want to go this route. Because I don't understand it otherwise. Because their base would be jumping for joy. They would be reelected in a landslide.
They're probably afraid of the establishment.
They want to wait till an election.
Well, I don't want to say that there's no political downside to doing this, and I would admit there might be.
Yeah.
But do they have a choice? What? Can you not impeach Biden at this point? Maybe, I don't see how you not do it.
Maybe they're looking for golden evidence before they push forward. Because if they want his bank statements, they're looking for connections to Burisma and Hunter, and then maybe that'll be the hammer. They
didn't ask for the bank statements. They spent the last 6 months, and I think there was some smart activity there in that regard. Let's get to a fight with Hunter and Joe for his bank statements. We can get all these other bank statements pretty easily. And that's what they did. And so it's now August. They're all on vacation, and they're talking about, well, maybe we'll start asking for the Biden, Hunter Biden, or I don't know, I'm assuming Joe Biden's bank statements. I don't know what Joe Biden's bank statements are going to show. My guess is, who's paying his contractor fees up in Delaware? No, he didn't. He doesn't pay any bills.
No, that's
Hunter was paying all the bills. They got to do more than bank statements.
Hunter is the bag man. I want everyone to understand that the money was being funneled through these corrupt business cutouts into Hunter's bank accounts, but then Hunter was responsible for taking care of all of the expenditures for the entire Biden family. That's the whole way they circumvented this, folks. It's pretty obvious at this point if you've paid any attention at all. That's what they did. Biden doesn't ever touch the money. That's how he gets away with it.
There's a crisis for the political system here in Washington, D.C., because they've known Biden's been corrupt since he's a senator. He's been in Washington 50 years. This is not a surprise to folks who serve with him and people around him. And the problem the political system has is now half the country believe him to be corrupt too. So now they don't know what to do about it. Hence McCarthy's confusion about whether to support or not support an impeachment inquiry.
And if they ripped it open and he was super corrupt and then got impeached and had to step down, we'd have Kamala Harris as president. And are we even better off Is that you think that's going through people's heads?
Yeah, if that's what justice results in, that's the reality of it. And I mean, just think about it, an impeachment inquiry. I mean, they're not, they're still presuming to say that, well, we don't know if we're going to impeach him or not. I mean, come on, guys.
Because justice, it's like when do you put the brakes on justice? You could rip it open on Kamala Harris's bank records next. You could go into Willie Brown next. You could go into like her old text message. Like, how deep do you want to go to take out every new leader that steps in because of some dumb corruption scandal?
You actually, but it's not dumb though. I want to be very clear. This is not dumb. If you are actually like, there's a really good chance that Russia doesn't invade if it's not for Biden's relationship with Burisma and the leadership, not to mention the State Department coup, not to mention Victoria Nuland. Like, there's a whole bunch of back history here that, yes, there's minor, seemingly millions of dollars worth of corruption in terms of what they profited. But what does it mean in terms of the outcome for geopolitical dynamics? Like, we could end up in World War III because we were led by a corrupt president during this period.
Yeah, because you're telling Russia and China, if you compromise our president, we're going to remove him from office or move to remove him. I mean, Burisma was a Russia-leading government entity. I mean, what I loved about that 1023, that FBI form that described the head of Burisma's bribe scheme for the Bidens. So the FBI source goes and says, we had the meeting and it was all in Russian. So Burisma was, so between Russia giving them money through the oligarch's wife, that was further confirmed last week.
Who is that? What's the wife's name?
Maria, what's her face?
It was the mayor of Moscow's ex-wife, I believe.
Yeah. So it was like three, and Devin Archer essentially confirmed they sent millions of dollars to their companies, and all of which they shared. And then Burisma, you have FBI evidence. He gave $10 million. They gave $10 million to the Bidens. And so if you're Putin, to your point, Clint, you're thinking, well, I'm not going to invade Ukraine because Biden's on the tank, and I know he is because we compromised him. But certainly that would be a factor, don't you think? That the country's not stable. Well, D.C., Biden can be he's compromised. He can be talked to. He knows we know about him. Well, we had documents where during the Obama administration, the Ukrainian ambassador was getting an email from her person just before Biden went to Ukraine in January of 2021, just before Trump came in. And the Russians started trolling him, literally trolling him in the newspapers.
Well, keep in mind, too,
because of Burisma. And Obama's ambassador said, was told, well, this is the Burisma's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yep.
So they knew that the Biden issue was compromising our national security vis-a-vis Russia.
Well, and keep in mind, too, Hunter Biden was the lead envoy for the U.S. to Ukraine under Barack Obama's administration in 2014. When that coup happens, that's largely a State Department, Victoria Nuland-led fiasco. So, like, this is a long-running dynamic, and people get caught up on, like, just this one 12-month or 18-month period of history. It's very important that you understand the entire encompassing 20-year period, or better yet, go all the way back to 91 in the USSR, and when the wall fell, and then
go back to Afghanistan, where the CIA is funding the Mujahideen to ruin the Russians from within.
Quick shout out to my guy Scott Horton. He's got a new book called Provoke that's coming out in sometime. It's amazing. It's an amazing book. That's the whole reason I know about all this history. He's been incredible on
Mike Flynn was indicted by the Justice Department, General Flynn, for not registering as a foreign agent because he worked for a Turkish nonprofit, not the Turkish government, a Turkish nonprofit closely linked to the government. Now, there's even more significant and powerful evidence that Joe Biden is an unregistered foreign agent vis-a-vis the Chinese and the Russians.
Yep.
If it's good,
Trump should have done more.
It's like when you look at it, it seems so overwhelming and like, what in the hell, these pieces? But when you look at it in the future, when you look back on it, it will make perfect sense.
Well, here's the problem too. The reason, and I asked him earlier, why are they not pursuing the defunding of all this? Why are they not pursuing this investigation as they should? My opinion is that both sides of the aisle are comparably dirty when it comes to Ukraine in particular. They were, I mean, you have Lindsey Graham.
Chris Christie?
Yeah, well, Chris Christie.
But he said his audience supports his efforts on his views on Ukraine and thinks we're not doing enough.
Yeah, nonsense. I don't know anybody on the GOP side that actually feels that way. But you have Lindsey Graham, you have John McCain that are over in Ukraine in 2018, going next year is the year of offense. I mean, this is a long running thing, man, and it's both sides of the aisle that were like they were cha-chinging. You got Mitt Romney, you got Nancy Pelosi. They're all making money off this crap.
So, question for you guys: if the United States pivots and is like, we're going to settle this war, peacetime, we're going to sell Eastern Donbass to the Russians for $350 trillion or whatever the hell. It's going to go to the bank. It's going to pay for reconstruction. The Russians will pay for it. The Russians say yes. If that happens,
yes.
Will they stop there? Will they go for Turkey? Will they try and seize Istanbul so that they have a trade route into the Mediterranean, or are we good to go? Did we just appease Hitler for the second time, or is this actually peace?
I think it's over at that point. I honestly do. That's my honest opinion.
Yeah, I think if the war settles with the Russians keeping a little bit of Ukraine and Crimea, that will probably, there'll be a tense peace for a decade. And frankly, it depends on the Western leadership. I mean, the Russians are, they will push where they think they can push. And if they don't think they can get anywhere, they won't.
Right.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.